When a team of renowned international thieves is given a chance to steal tons of gold at 30,000 feet, they devise an impossible strategy to steal the whole passenger plane instead of just the gold. Sit back to watch some dumb plot twists and unexplained logics surrounding biggest robbery of the century. The film opens with a nice drone shot of Venice, where we are introduced to Cyrus, a renowned international thief and leader of his team. He is secretly leading his heist crew to steal from two different places at the same time, Venice and London. His heist crew consists of Camila the pilot, a hacker Misun, safecracker Magnus, a smart engineer Luke, and master of disguise, Denton. Cyrus is currently sitting in Venice while his crew is distributed around both locations. He visits an auction in Venice where he is supposed to steal a modern NFT, while Magnus will steal a Van Gogh painting in London at the same time. The bidding for NFT begins, and people from the audience start to put their bids. A young rich art collector, Mr. Malson, outbids everyone to buy that painting at first. After that, the bidding for the NFT begins, and the host introduces the NFT artist, N8. He always wears a mask and remained anonymous throughout his career. The NFT by N8 is made by a self-portrait mask comprising of 482 cameras. This mask will create the NFT with a live 30-second feed from the auction itself. Once complete, the NFT will have captured the moment of its sale, which will include the buyer. While this is going on, Interpol agent Abby tries to pursue Cyrus and his group to stop them from their theft plan. Abby and Cyrus have a history in the past which does not stop her from doing her job. Cyrus gives them a glance through the security camera in a challenging manner. We see that Denton and Mi-sun are also present in the audience. Cyrus outbids everyone else to buy that NFT for $20 million as part of their plan. He then signals Mi-sun to hack into the system, and as she does, a chaos is created that gives Magnus the opportunity to grab that Van Gogh painting in London. Cyrus also takes the NFT artist with him while pretending to make the deal for his NFT. Since both these auctions were connected, this breach helped both Cyrus and Magnus to conduct the thefts and walk away. The dumb Interpol is still looking at the cameras instead of catching Cyrus. They wait for the theft to complete before making their move, and then rush into the hall when everything's done. Cyrus and his crew escapes in a boat while Magnus and Luke successfully steal the Van Gogh painting. Abby rushes outside and looks through the crowd because it's the easiest way to find someone. Anyhow, she spots the crew and pursues them in another boat. The NFT artist is still unaware that he has been kidnapped and is sitting like a boss. Camila uses her driving skills while Mi-sun hacks into the ocean, causing a huge flood barrier to ascend from underwater. While this looks so unrealistic, this is probably not the only dumb logic to witness in this movie. Cyrus and his crew arrive at a big yacht with N8 where they ask him to remove his mask, finally revealing his face. They transfer a real amount of $20 million in his bank account, and the crew celebrates at night as N8 also joins them. In the meantime, Abby watches video recordings from the auction and sees Denton in the footage. She uncovers the evidences from the footage implicating Denton and correctly deduces that his limp was a fake. Apparently, the Interpol believes that N8 has been kidnapped by Cyrus and his crew, so the news about him being missing hits the airwaves. The next morning, N8 is shocked to see news articles reporting that he has been kidnapped. N8 finally starts to suspect the whole situation, but Cyrus reveals that they have not actually kidnapped him. Instead, they are waiting for his art to hit a commencing price in the market. Since the artist has been kidnapped, the price of his art will eventually increase, and as planned, it definitely touches unprecedented value of $89 million in the market. N8 decides to celebrate with the team after being promised a cut of the money from that $89 million. Abby arrests Denton in the meantime and charges him with fraud since he participated in the auction and made a bid of more than $10 million, but he didn't have the funds to cover it. So that makes him eligible for extradition to the US. Cyrus then sends Abby a box that contains their pictures among other things, revealing that she and Cyrus had a relationship in past. Abby then moves to London with her crew and has set up everything against Cyrus. However, just when she is about to lead the mission to catch him, her superior, Commander Huxley, stops her from doing so. Rather than proceed with charges against Cyrus and his crew, he tells her about a billionaire banker named Jorgensen. Jorgensen was responsible for making millions by shorting airline stock after the crash of a New Zealand plane that killed 189 people. Jorgensen is now planning a terrorist activity where hundreds of thousands of people will face severe consequences and their loss will be profitable for him. He intends to work with the hacking group Leviathan, who will help him in staging a massive flooding in Europe, allowing him to make billions in profit through stock manipulation. As Leviathan requires payment of $500 million in untraceable gold bullion, Jorgensen has arranged for a shipment of gold to be taken from his vault in London and flown to Leviathan's bank in Zurich via a commercial airliner. Huxley cannot intercept the gold as it is a legal transaction, so he wants Abby to talk to Cyrus and his crew to intercept this gold payment to Leviathan and give it to Interpol. Okay, here's a simple question. Why don't the Interpol simply go and arrest Jorgensen for his crimes instead of this whole dumb robbery concept? Anyway, after much deliberation with Huxley, Abby agrees to talk to Cyrus and visits to meet him in his luxurious place. As the story progresses with their talk, it turns out that Abby and Cyrus met in Paris a year ago. They were both undercover and fell in love with each other, but the relationship lasted not more than 5 days. She left him after learning that he belongs to a group of international thieves. Anyway, she eventually talks about the deal and shares the idea of stealing gold from Jorgensen. Cyrus immediately rejects the deal at first because he knows Jorgensen is a dangerous man and not to be trifled with. Abby also knows the risks involved in this operation, but she lures him in with an offer of full immunity for him and his entire crew. Since he has a weak point for Abby, and this mission will perhaps save millions of lives, Cyrus agrees to talk to his team. However, he makes a smart move and insists Abby join the team to provide certain cover for Interpol. Cyrus argues that with Abby on the team, Interpol will not hang the team out to dry if things do not go as per plan. When Cyrus discusses the mission with his team, everyone comes with a different mindset as some agree to do it, and some oppose the idea of working alongside Interpol. But somehow Cyrus manages to convince them, and they all come together after a while and start planning for the heist. Abby then briefs them about the operation and the objectives. The gold weighs 10 tons and will be delivered to Heathrow Airport under armored cover. It will be loaded onto a Sky Suisse passenger plane to Zurich. The crew determines they will only be able to steal the gold while the airliner is in midair. The next day, the team starts working on their plan and Abby sees Cyrus listening to music and resting like a boss because he is the boss. They have some friendly conversation in which Abby shares a story from her childhood. She says that her mom was headmistress at her school and they had a Hockney print picture displayed in the school. Her mom found that picture very special, but someone stole it one day. Abby became an Interpol agent because she wanted to catch the thief, but she never got around to do it. Cyrus then discusses his master plan of robbery and reveals that they need to steal the whole passenger plane instead of taking just the gold. To do so, they need to fly another private jet directly beneath the targeted airliner, which will allow them to manipulate the radar signals to maintain the appearance of the main passenger plane staying on the course. They meet Mr. Malson, the rich art lover from the auctions, and decide to procure a special private jet from him. In exchange for loaning his private jet, Cyrus promises Malson to persuade N8 to make a special NFT art for him. Malson gives them a brief tour of the jet and shows them all special features including a stripper pole and a huge LED screen that covers the whole underneath of the jet. These features are important to remember because these will help them later in the robbery. Camila will fly this jet as a pilot, so she starts practicing to stay out of the passenger plane's wake. Misun says that at such high speed of 700 miles per hour, the chances of turning on the signal jammer on the A380 and the transponder on the private jet to mimic the A380 signal are next to zero. Out of UK airspace, Brussels Air Traffic Control will be tracking the flight and Abby has a contact there who will help them in overlooking these potential glitches. She takes Cyrus to meet Harry, who is an informant and works with air traffic control in Brussels. He looks like a huge prick and doesn't take them seriously at all. Cyrus then offers him $1 million as a bribe, and the piece of crap immediately agrees to help them. At the same time, Huxley contacts Abby and calls for a meeting with Cyrus. He behaves like a piece of shit in front of Cyrus and makes sure that he is also a huge prick. Huxley reveals that Jorgensen discovered a mole in his organization, prompting him to accelerate the gold delivery date. Cyrus decides to opt out because their timeline will now face troubles. Huxley then threatens him that he will bring the power of international law down on him and his team. Okay, here's the thing. Why don't this piece of crap uses the same international power to arrest Jorgensen for his crimes? Cyrus still agrees to do it, but only because of Abby and not Huxley because he is not scared of him at all. While all of this is happening, news reports indicate that cyber terrorists have targeted the city's main water grid, which caused widespread flooding. Abby and Cyrus suspect Jorgensen's involvement in this attack, and it is the first of many to come. Realizing how dangerous their job is going to be, Cyrus asks his crew to back out. He is prepared to do the job on his own. However, the crew chooses to stick with him and completely refuse to leave him to do the job by himself. Abby realizes that his crew loves him, and that's what a good leader deserves after all. Despite the unexpected challenges, the crew manages to prepare in time. Cyrus briefs the team about their robbery plan one last time. Camila will fly the private jet directly beneath the passenger plane A380. Mi-sun will manipulate the radar signals while Magnus will crack the safe in midair. Additionally, they transform the jet into stealth mode, which will make it invisible on the radar signals. The mission day finally arrives, and the crew takes their position on the A380 passenger plane. Camilla gets on the private jet and uses her piloting skills to fly it like a piece of cake. Jorgensen's henchmen are also on the plane to make sure that the gold is safe. His right-hand man, Cormac, also boards the plane. Harry also manages things on the ground and communicates with the pilots as their air traffic controller. Unfortunately, Luke pulls out of the heist at the last minute. He decides that he does not want to risk his life, so he does not board the flight. Since Luke had the signal booster for the jammer, and the only way to make it still work is to move the jammer close to the cockpit. They've hid the signal jammer in the bathroom, so Abby decides to do this and take the jammer close to the cockpit. She goes to the bathroom and finds all the pieces of the signal jammer. She then goes to another bathroom closer to the cockpit and tries to assemble the jammer. Luckily, she is so careful in doing this that she successfully drops the jammer and breaks it, because dangerous missions don't feel dangerous without making a mess. Since Camilla has only 3 minutes left before she approaches the plane, Abby calls Cyrus for help in reassembling the jammer. To make things worse, one of Jorgensen's henchmen decides to use the same bathroom at the same time, which is not surprising at all. To divert his attention, Abby begins to moan and pretends that she is having a physical encounter inside the bathroom. Camilla almost approaches their tail, but the jammer is still not assembled. As Camilla finally makes it beneath the A380, the jammer surprisingly works, because otherwise the story wouldn't progress. One of the air traffic control officers notices 2 planes on the radar signal, but she is convinced when the jammer works and the crew successfully switches the radar signals. Harry then does his part of the plan and instructs the pilot to make an emergency landing at a small airstrip in the Alps. Camilla then deploys a drone headed to Zurich, which will now mimic the A380 plane signal. The sudden landing makes Jorgensen's henchmen suspicious, so they attempt to hijack the plane. It's time for Magnus to crack the safe. To do so, Denton distracts the air hostess, allowing Magnus a chance to descend to the cargo area. He finds the safe and starts to crack it, which will take almost 10 minutes to complete. In the meantime, Jorgensen's men assemble their weapons and threaten the crew to get the pilot to take the plane to Zurich. Cyrus and Abby are watching this and decide to buy Magnus some time by initiating a dangerous fight with the henchmen. Abby and Cyrus both fight Jorgensen's guys while Magnus is cracking the safe. He is able to crack the safe and gets his hands on the gold. After beating the henchmen, Cyrus and Abby go to see Magnus, but they are caught by Cormac. The plane goes through heavy turbulence because of the weather, resulting in the plane crash landing at Cortina. Camilla also arrives in time and makes a successful landing just behind the A380. Cormac takes Abby and Cyrus to the cargo area and capture them along with Magnus. The gold is apparently safe, and Cormac informs Jorgensen about the whole situation. He orders Cormac to bring the thieves and the gold to his private estate. Camilla is also captured as she steps out of the private jet. On the other hand, Mi-sun and Denton have not blown their cover. They stay behind on the other plane with their comms still connected to the rest of the crew. Cormac plans to transfer the gold from A380 into this private jet and take it to Jorgensen. Since the jet can't take that much weight, Cormac orders to leave Magnus on the ground, because one man surely equals the weight of 10 tons of gold. As one of Cormac's guys is taking Magnus away, he smartly distracts him and snatches the gun. Magnus then alters the gun, and as the man picks it up and fires, he is shot backwards in his own hands, giving Magnus a chance to escape. Cormac is holding Abby and Cyrus hostage in the jet, while Camilla is allowed to fly. She smartly tries to shake off the stealth mode by throwing the plane off balance, pretending that it's because of the heavy gold. This allows the Interpol to track their location. However, desperate for the gold to not reach Jorgensen, Huxley orders the plane shot down by NATO. 2 NATO fighter planes immediately take charge and proceed to shoot the jet. Jorgensen meets Leviathan's representative in the interim, and she asks him about the gold, but he stays quiet. She starts to suspect that Jorgensen is losing control on his gold, so she threatens him that they will empty all his bank accounts if the gold is not delivered. The NATO fighters immediately approach the jet, and Harry tries to contact their pilots to stop them from shooting the jet. He teams up with Camilla to alert the pilots about hostages on board, making them stand down. However, Huxley still doesn't believe them and orders the fighter planes to shoot the jet down immediately. This forces Cyrus to begin another fight with Jorgensen's henchmen and inform the NATO fighters about civilians' hostages. Abby confirms this by displaying the same message on the big LED screen underneath the jet, confirming about civilians' hostages on board. NATO opts not to shoot down the plane and instead plans to intercept it upon landing. The fight continues among the group, and Camilla is forced to land the jet. However, she throttles the engine to full speed, throwing everyone off balance. Abby uses the remote to open the main door, and Cyrus kicks Cormac out of the jet. Camilla also gets injured in the process, so Abby and Cyrus decide to take the wheel. As soon as they take control of the jet, the hydraulic pump breaks, making it impossible to steer. This causes the jet to crash land on Jorgensen's villa because there wasn't any other place left on the whole planet. This is how dumb logics are made when the movie makers don't know how to write proper endings. Anyway, they are captured by Jorgensen's guys, but Cyrus remembers that they have cameras on the jet. He smartly signals Mi-sun to hack into those cameras and record everything that takes place on Jorgensen's estate. Believing that he lost the gold, Jorgensen shoots and kills Leviathan's representative after she decides to cancel the deal. Jorgensen then prepares to kill Cyrus and his crew, but the Carabinieri arrive, just in time, surprisingly from nowhere. Jorgensen pretends that he is protecting his property, but Cyrus orders Mi-sun to play the recording of the murder. The Carabinieri sees the video footage of Jorgensen killing Leviathan representative on the big LED beneath the jet, and he is finally arrested. Okay, so here's the thing. The Interpol could have arrested him earlier for his crimes, then what was the point of this whole life and death gold robbery concept? Also, what would have happened if Jorgensen wouldn't have shot the Leviathan representative? Was there another alternate way to arrest him or not? There are so many dumb logics in this movie that we should simply ignore them all. Huxley also arrives after everything's done, and one of Abby's colleagues tells her about the NATO fighters. He reveals that Huxley authorized the NATO jets to shoot the jet before Jorgensen gets his gold. She lands a punch on his face and immediately resigns from the Interpol. Abby then follows Cyrus and decides to join his crew of thieves. Okay, so here's another thing. She left Cyrus 1 year ago because he was a thief and joined Interpol to catch thieves. Now she left Interpol because Cyrus is still a thief and joined his crew because she also wants to be a thief? Someone tell me how many dumb logics are remaining in this movie. Weeks later, Abby and Cyrus are dating once more, and he confesses that he fell in love with Abby, not the person she was pretending to be when they first met in Paris. Cyrus further tells her that he found the thief who stole that Hockney print from her mother and bought it for her school. Cyrus then reveals to Abby that the crew cleverly stole the gold shipment during the heist on the airliner, replacing the actual shipment with iron bars painted to look like gold. The real gold shipment was swapped with the fake ones and parachuted out of the A380 while the crew was fighting with Jorgensen's henchmen. Luke was never out of the heist. He guided the parachute to a recoverable spot in the mountains via remote control. So basically, they right now have all the real gold bars and Interpol has nothing but the iron bars in their possession. The team meets for the first time after the heist. They have gathered at a point where the shipment of gold is kept. Cyrus is given the honor of successfully retrieving their loot, which he passes on to the recently recruited Abby. Abby taps on the button, and the whole shipment literally pops up from the middle of a lake. Seeing the shipment, everyone from the team joyfully commemorates their achievement, cheering the success and welcoming their newest member, Abby. Meanwhile, Cyrus and Abby reignite their romantic connection which was once lost, and the movie ends with so many unexplained dumb logics.